kaiju, Dragon Ball, Pokemon, and more. It's Steven's Toy Reviews. Hey, hello there collectors, it is Steven here, and I am back with another Godzilla vinyl review for you, and this time we are going to be taking a look at something that is rather interesting. We're going to be taking a look at the Imperial Godzillas, the approximately 6 and 12-inch vinyl figures from way back in the mid to late 80s. So these figures are very old, and chances are if you grew up collecting Godzilla stuff or you just needed a fun toy, your parents got this for you just to shut you up. Yeah, I'm telling you about personal experience. But with so many awesome figures coming out today and the vintage appeal, are these figures still up to snuff, or should you just go ahead and toss them out? Let's take a look to see whether or not they're worth adding into your collection. This review was chosen by my patrons over on my Patreon as September 2018's Patron's Pick. That's right, if you're interested in maybe voting in the next Patron's Pick and maybe getting some cool perks while you're at it, click the card popping up in the top right hand corner of your screen or check the link in the description down below and we can get you set up to vote for next month's vote. Alright, let's get on to the review. Nah, not quite yet. We're not going to get just straightforward to the review. Here is a little disclaimer for this review. After checking some of the reference pictures available online compared to what I have, there is a chance that when I was younger, even though they came with hang tags, I may have gotten bootlegs. Yep, that's right, bootlegs. So with that in mind, considering these are the Imperial Godzillas and they're known to be different, I'm going to have to put a spin on this review. So let's see how this one plays out, shall we? Since this is a double review, we're going to go ahead and do it by sections. Both figures for how they look, both for articulation, both for sizing, and then we'll go ahead and we'll wrap up so it'll be normal STR style. But for this review, let's be honest, bootleg or not, the Imperial Godzillas are not known to be super awesome, hyper accurate, or even stylized awesome goodness of figures in the same league and caliber as stuff like M1, Marmot, and the like, which I really don't quite know why. Yeah, but anyway, the whole point of this review is going to actually admire what Imperial was or maybe was not able to do, bootleg status be damned, and reflect a little bit about the time when these figures were released to see whether or not it actually held up well by today's standards and whether or not we can look back fondly on these guys, okay? Okay, so first and foremost, taking a look at what we're just going to go ahead and call the 6-inch version of the Imperial Godzilla. Yeah, quality is a bit sketchy here. We do have plenty of excess plastic along the molding lines on the arms, definitely on the dorsal plates, and this is kind of where I'm concerned as to whether or not this one is a bootleg, because some of what I'm seeing are official ones. They do have the excess plastic as well, and some of the ones that seem to be official, other people have called bootlegs. So whether or not this one is a bootleg is definitely difficult to determine. It has Imperial China on the feet, but that's not really the overall case. One thing that in popular media is that Godzilla is seen as the Green Terror, despite the fact that only in the 2000s was Godzilla truly green. But here, Imperial did capitalize on that idea that Godzilla was green, and they did make this Godzilla primarily green. However, he is cast in a black vinyl with some green spray, which is really cool. Something that was a rather odd choice, though, when we take a look at the mouth. Yeah, he really does have some really, really red lips. The eyes are also kind of haunting as well. It definitely adds to the, well, to be honest with you, rather cheap appearance of the Imperial figures, not just specifically Godzilla, but overall. Moving on down, we do have some nice silver spray on the chest, which this is very odd. I don't quite know what they were going for here with this detail, but to be honest with you, I really do think that this is cool. This is something that I admired even as a kid and all the way up today as an adult. adult, I still appreciate. As we continue on down and take a look at the rest of the figure, the stumpy feet unfortunately aren't that well detailed, but you know what? That is okay, considering that this went for about $10 back in the day. You just pick it up off the shelf and, well, you made your kid happy. The detail for the dorsal plates is actually pretty nice, despite the fact that there is some excess plastic there, which, yeah, you can trim that up to make it look nice, but still, the detailing is actually pretty nice, and the tail is very eco-friendly for shelf space anyway, because it's not that large, but still does look proportionate to Godzilla here. Overall, I do think that for the time that this was released, this was a great representation of Godzilla in terms of capturing how he looked in popular culture as this green radioactive dinosaur who was more than capable of burning a city down. That's what they were going for here, and I think that's what they captured. Now, for his big brother, the 12-inch one, which is closer to 13-inch, but just for the sake of scales, we're going to call him the 12-inch one. And this definitely was the toy that all the kids back then had to have. I took this thing with me everywhere that I went. I'm surprised that I still don't have imprints on my face from where those dorsal plates would dig in when I would fall asleep on top of this guy. Now, personal stories aside, this one actually does have some pretty nice sculpted details in the actual figure itself. You're going to be able to see this when we take a look at the dorsal plates. Those are actually really impressive for something that is, well, to be honest, something that is effectively a step above a bootleg figure, even for the quote-unquote official release. But here for the Imperial Godzilla, this is definitely what everyone knows and may or may not love when they think of the Imperial Godzilla. This is it. This is the Cadillac. This is definitely the first collectible, the first Godzilla toy that a lot of folks had. Chances are you didn't start off with the Trendmaster stuff. You started off with this, and for good reason. This guy was everywhere. He was only about $20 at the most. I think I got mine for $15. Really cool. Again, all of the popular traits of Godzilla at the time are present. Nice silver dorsal plates, the green coloration on him, and on this one we do also have the white haunting eyes, which really did scare me growing up, gotta be honest with you. And then we do have the red lips, which application is not necessarily the best. Once again, we do have the silver chest, which does look much nicer than the 6-inch version. We do have a more intense green spray on the arms than we do the rest of the body. We do also have some excess plastic on the fingers, which that does again lead me to believe that this is a bootleg, but this did come initially with a hang tag, so I don't quite know on that one there. So looking throughout the rest of the figure, we can see all of the well-defined scales that this guy has. I know that the Imperial Godzilla gets a lot of flack for just not being great, people hating on it, but to be honest with you, the sculpted detail on this guy is really, really cool, especially when we get to the dorsal plates where it's clear it's not just some lumpy plastic. We do actually have some bumps and ridges, some dips and folds. We do even have clearly defined spikes, which actually are kind of sharp, which is really neat. And not only that, but we also do have some textured spraying on the smaller row of dorsal plates next to the center row, which you'd think that they wouldn't include that detail of. Even going all the way down to the nice proportionate tail, which does have that small bend to it. So if you're looking to display this on your shelf, he does have a relatively small shelf footprint, which is fantastic. So good on Imperial for that one. Now for the articulation, it's pretty straightforward. We do have swivels at the shoulders and at the hips for the 6-inch version, and one at the tail, which that actually has an O-joint for where the vinyl meets. For the big boy, we do also have swivels at the shoulders and at the hips. Unfortunately, at the tail, though it is indeed a swivel, it is more of an oval connection instead of a circle like on the 6-inch, so though you can spin it around, it will be a bit more difficult. And of course, here's the size comparison for you so you can see exactly how big these guys are. So if you're wondering about how much space they're going to take up on the shelf, you're going to be able to get a good reference point from these pictures. So buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. Got to be honest with you folks, chances are after this review, or whatever you would like to formally more so call this, I would have to say I don't think anyone's going to go out and try to hunt one of these down. Why is that? Well, to be honest with you, there's not a whole lot going for it aside from the fact that it is the infamous Imperial Godzilla with the red lips. You see, kids, when this figure was first released back in the late 80s to early 90s, depending on your location, it was available pretty much everywhere at the local junk store or even the local Toys R Us. So you were pretty much able to get it wherever you wanted to pick it up, whether or not you wanted to save up a couple weeks' allowance or you got mom or dad to buy it for you. And that's what makes it so special. Pretty much everyone who is young adult to older adult, this was probably their first Godzilla toy or Godzilla collectible, and that definitely holds a special place in their heart. Whether or not it's the best thing, I don't know, because chances are they've moved on to much bigger things like X Plus or SH Monster Arts, but they've turned their back on this little guy here, which is unfortunate because, like I said, this was a lot of folks' first. And now people make fun of it by hanging it off their bumper on their way to G-Fest. Yeah, that's an unfortunate story that I've heard. Anyway, this figure is definitely well known in the Godzilla fandom, and it does have its perks to it. It was a popular piece back then for how Godzilla was looking in pop culture. A green radioactive dinosaur who was ready to take on Japan, and to be honest with you, that is the reason why I like the Imperial Godzilla still today. He does have his charms, but to be honest with you, he isn't all that great. Only get this guy if you really want a piece of Godzilla history. Well, folks, that's the end of this review. Thanks for watching, and be sure to follow me on social media to catch more behind-the-scenes shenanigans and updates. The end card should be popping up now with more hand-selected STR goodness for you to watch, so check out some of those videos. Be sure to check the description, too, to see where you can buy this figure or others like it, and some cool links, like the credits for this video, and other ways you can help out the channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.